Okay, we're live. Oh my goodness, so exciting. With me is Scott. He's above me, and I'm down here. I'm Limor, Ladyada, lead engineer of Adafruit, and Scott has been heading up the CircuitPython efforts and ESP32-S2 linking fun.
Oh yeah, all sorts of fun.
Yeah, so we're doing this hack chat. I gotta say, we don't represent Espressif. We don't actually know the answers to some of the things that we're saying, but we'll do a really good job BSing our way through them, and we'll probably get most of them right. So yeah, we're here. So I'm also going to chat.
I have the data sheets up in one of these windows somewhere.
Yeah, datasheet is a service. It's our new web platform. You have an engineer who will just look through the data sheet for a question you have to do.
Somebody asked me on my stream on Friday about the presence detection that I think the regular ESP32 has.
And it's like, I don't know. All right, Jonathan asked, does anyone know if the ESP32-S2 has a larger buffer? I think the variant, not S2, I have limited 1600 bytes. I wonder if that means like an MTU, like for wireless. Scott, you want to look that up in the data sheet?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what John is talking about for buffer.
Yeah, I'm just guessing because 1600 is close to like the 1500 standard TCP/IP MTU. I stick to 1500 per packet, but yeah, maybe John can answer what exact buffer you're talking about. I'll ask.
Yeah, John, that's right. We should type our answers in, shouldn't we?
I do. Wait, it's not John Edgar Park. Ooh, there's this. There you go.
Hi, Charles. Hi, DJ Mitz.
Buffer are you talking
YouTube
about? Okay. All right, sweet. So people are going to be in the stream. Okay, does the ESP32-S2 still have Wi-Fi analog pin conflicts? This is something that happened with the ESP32. A little bit mysterious. Not sure exactly why. Maybe it's because it's like a section would interfere with Wi-Fi, but you couldn't use like one of the analog pin sets when Wi-Fi was on. I don't know if they fixed that in the ESP32-S2. Do you see anything like that?
I have a small bell ringing in my head that says there's 2 ADCs and one of them you can't.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But did you know if that's like the ESP32-S2?
I haven't looked much in the ESP32, so probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
I haven't looked yet. Probably has the same restrictions.
All right, I'll answer Dave. Dave asks, what's the status of USB OTG support? And the answer is device is working, but I don't believe host is working.
Yeah. Although TinyUSB does have host support. So, we will add it eventually. It is kind of nice, the ESP32-S2, you can bootload it over USB or over serial. So you could still program and debug with it while having it be a USB host interface, which is not true of some chips where it's like, well, the only way to program or interface it basically is over USB. There's like no another bootloader.
Right. Okay. There's a really good ESP32 forum topic with the state of support for stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just double checking my link before I post it.
Okay. Then Ben Hack is asking about that Risc coprocessor. There's a Risc-V coprocessor in it. We've seen it. We haven't used it yet. But I think it's interesting. It might be useful for like, machine learning or AI projects where it's like you have to toss over a bunch of computation over to a coprocessor and send it back. So I can reply to we haven't tried the Risc-V yet, but it could be useful for ML AI projects which need a lot of computation, and the ESP32-S2 is not a dual core Tensilica.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what the Risc-V's clock speed actually is.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it's for. It's kind of like they put it in like the diagram, and it was like kind of cool, but I don't know what. I mean, like, why not? It's free, right?
Yeah, I think it's mainly for the ultra low power. So it's like it's in a lower power domain and stuff.
Okay.
So it's like if you just need some logic to decide whether you wake up or not, I think is the main goal.
Okay. We finally have a question that we can answer. Peter asks, can you ditch the USB UART chip programmer boards when using the S2? Can you program it fully over USB? And I think the answer is yes. There's a USB bootloader, right? But it's not a UART bootloader. It's an HID bootloader.
Yeah, you would know better than me. I haven't actually used it.
Yeah, there is a USB bootloader, but we don't think it's UART. Probably EFU or something like that. Okay. Okay, so John says, yes, the packet sniffer for the packet buffer, like the MTU packet buffer, I guess. I mean, it's probably defined in the IDF. I don't know if it would be different.
That would be my assumption too.
Yeah.
Because there's a big like kconfig stuff for all the IDF.
Yeah, that's probably in the IDF setup if it's flexible. Check that. See if there's a kconfig option. Okay. So Adam Demuri asks, they're excited for Wi-Fi time of flight for the S2. Have you played with it? Will it let you do position tracking if you have multiple APs? So I guess it looks at time of flight for like packets compared to like how, I've seen time of flight sensors that use infrared. With Wi-Fi, here's the thing. There's signals can bounce off surfaces, and if it's in your bag, it can be different than if it's outside your person. So it's not going to be like precision tracking. I'd say probably within like 1/10 of a meter or something. That's what I've seen for a lot of these, just because it's really hard to get good like centimeter precision object detection in the 3D space. It's just a hard problem. Okay, any questions you want to pick up, Scott?
Looks like some folks in the YouTube chat are having trouble hopping into the hack chat. So if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the YouTube chat and we can answer those as well. I just made an extra comment about the fact that TinyUSB is actually included in the IDF, so I think it works. And then the way that we're doing it in CircuitPython right now is we're actually kind of calling TinyUSB directly, but it actually uses at least one function from the IDF to like initialize the hardware. I was just doing that yesterday.
Actually, as I think of it, one of the things that I remember seeing on the AT86 RF233, which also does time of flight, it's not Wi-Fi, it's 2.4 gigahertz. It's using like Zigbee or something. And they have like two antennas. You have to have two perpendicular antennas and like an antenna switch. So it's like the hardware is also a little bit different. Okay. Boyan asks, what dev board would you recommend for trying the ESP32-S2 with the Arduino IDE? I don't know if they have an Arduino IDE core yet, but you can definitely use the IDF, and I'll switch to the overhead to show off the dev board that's available. Watch this. Bam. Okay. So, all these cool hack a day things. So this is the dev board that's available right now. It's called the Saola, and it has a micro USB port, a USB serial converter like a CP2104. It's got two buttons, an RGB LED. I think it's RGB. Yeah. Maybe it's a NeoPixel regulator, and then the ESP32-S2 module. And like I said, you can program it and debug it over the USB serial. And then if you want to use it with USB native, you have to wire up a separate USB connection. So the USB pins are like 20 and 19. So you just wire those up as D- and D+ to a micro USB port like this one. And then that way you can still program and debug over the USB UART and have TinyUSB, like native USB, running on this port. Or you can check out Scott's hardcore no breadboard build. Yeah, we actually got these.
I just got this from the Adafruit store.
Yeah, we got these cables, and they're kind of like USB suicide cords. They're basically hold on, let me switch back. They're just USB with like just the pins all brought out, and you can just plug them into dev boards. Because so many dev boards we're seeing now, it's like they have another USB port, but you can't get to it. Like there's no connector. You have to like add your own connector. All right, so I'm going to reply to. Oh man, I gotta scroll. Just gotta grab and scroll.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting everything. You're seeing stuff that I'm not seeing. Oh.
Check out the.
We are too popular, Phil.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me find the link for.
So Adam Bryant in YouTube was postulating that the Risc core in the S2 might be based on the same unit as the M5 Stack's Stick 5 AI camera. And my guess is that's not the case, given that I think the main goal of the Risc-V core in the S2 is for low power use. I don't think they're going to put something super beefy there because it's in like a separate power domain, so you can turn off the main Extensa core instead.
Okay, did you get Morgan's question about TinyUSB supporting multiple interfaces?
Yeah, I'll reply to Morgan. So
okay, because you know I'll let you do the TinyUSB stuff because you're so good at it.
Morgan Allen in YouTube asks, can TinyUSB support multiple interfaces, say HID and UART at the same time? And the answer is definitely yes.
Yeah, we do mass storage, HID, MIDI, UART, as well as a bunch of other like things that I've never used, like whatever the USB protocol is for test equipment. We support that. I don't even remember the name of it. It's like test USB or something. But yeah, we have that.
TinyUSB is really taken off, and people have added like the networking protocol as well. So we have
like Ethernet over USB.
CDC, which is your mass storage, HID, MIDI, networking, something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mass storage is our main interest.
Okay, so then, all right, Peter Winter asks, is there an ETA for an ESP32 WROOM S2 module yet? And I have some, but I'll switch over to the overhead again, because why not show some hardware? We are at Hackaday, then the hardware. So there's two modules available right now, and there's basically two modules in one chip. So the modules, I got some samples from Espressif. They're very nice, and they sent me some. So the modules are this big, and they come on a gigantic tape. So they're great for pick and placing, and they're both the same size, which is actually a little surprising. One is the WROOM and one is the WROVER, and they're physically, they look the same other than the writing on the top of the module. So if you look at the module itself, like I decapped both modules here, you can see that both have the Espressif chip. They still have the same crystal, and they both have, I think this is a 2 megabyte QSPI flash, but you see one of them has this PSRAM chip and the other doesn't. So the WROVER has PSRAM and the WROOM does not. So I think right now they're focusing on getting people the WROVER ones, which are the ones that have the PSRAM, and you can always just not turn on that PSRAM chip, and you can basically simulate this because again they're the same physical size. I'll pop back and I'll type that in.
Do you know which Sala it is? Because I'm looking on DigiKey. There's a 1R and a 1M.
The yes, one is.
I'm just wondering if I should pick this up because they have the M and I don't know which one I've got.
I do not. One of them has the WROVER and one of them has the WROOM, and I don't remember which one it is.
All right.
Sorry.
That's fine.
They both have 4 megabytes of flash. I don't remember which one, but check the manual on the data sheet because right now, like you can only get one of them right now from DigiKey, so pick that one.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to reply to.
Bruce says it's the 1R. The 1R has the PSRAM.
Yeah, that sounds likely.
So DigiKey has 29 of the 1M right now.
Yeah.
for the next few minutes, I suspect.
Okay, so for Peter, I can reply to that one. The WROVER and WROOM are the same size. The WROVER has PSRAM and the WROOM is not, but it's not the same size as the ESP32 WROOM. It's the same size as the longer. So next question.
Are you doing Larry or how far back
I don't know. Look, I'm scrolling here. I'm scrolling. There's a lot going on. Okay, I got the Peter Winter one, so I'm going to keep going forward. Okay.
Note for folks watching that the hack chat you're seeing is Phil's, not Limor's. So
yeah,
that's why you don't see it scrolling around.
I know. I'm scrolling like crazy. Okay. So given that the ESP32 only has a single core, is that going to be problematic? Performance-wise for CircuitPython, if you also have to take care of Wi-Fi handling, how do you deal with strict timing? Or is that handled by the RTOS for you? I'm going to let Scott take this one.
Yeah, the plan is to integrate with FreeRTOS to handle the timing. We basically run background tasks a lot in CircuitPython, and we can use that background task thing as an opportunity for the RTOS to context switch if it needs to. But this is the first time I worked with FreeRTOS, so it's definitely something new. But the idea is that we'll slow down CircuitPython so that all the Wi-Fi stuff gets the responsiveness it needs.
Okay. Great. You can type that in. Okay. The next question is the ESP32 V1 had poor light sleep current around 1 milliamp. Well, given that this has only one core, not two, so it's probably going to be lower current for sleep because you only have one Tensilica core. I think that they've worked a lot on low power and sleep modes. And Scott, you've actually also done some work recently on sleep in low power mode. Do you want to talk about how you're doing that in CircuitPython?
So I took a look at it very briefly yesterday. I haven't run any numbers, but the thing that I was surprised by actually was that in light sleep mode on the ESP32, at least, BLE and Wi-Fi needs to be turned off, which kind of surprised me. So there's also a idle task mode for FreeRTOS that can manage it as well. But I haven't, we're way too early on the software side to actually have measured any of this stuff.
Well, I'm going to reply to the power question.
I keep forgetting that I need to type it in. I kind of assume everybody's watching.
I'm trying to alternate, so it's like, well, you're typing one, I'm answering one. I don't know if that's working out. Has only one core, so it
Phil's
should
trying to keep track of which ones are
be less than the dual core ESP32-S2 V1. Also, the V2 plus of the ESP32 did improve some sleep modes. I vaguely remember people getting under 1 milliamp. All right.
Somebody in YouTube asks, how big are the tapes?
Oh yeah. Well, I can measure it. They look like, I don't know, maybe 36 millimeters. Let's find out.
So many questions.
Yeah.
On YouTube,
Sorry, 44. They're 44 millimeter tape. So chunky tape. You can probably get them in tray if you really wanted to, but I also always prefer tape.
Jack D asks, what do you recommend for how non-engineers and beginners get plugged into using the ESP32-S2 and learning the concepts discussed here?
I think that the ESP32-S2 is a little early for super beginners. You might want to wait until there's an Arduino IDE. So maybe pick up a dev board. They're only $8 a DigiKey, and that way, when support is announced, you'll have hardware to test it out with. That's what I would recommend.
I'd also say that a lot of the concepts we're discussing are not specific to the ESP32-S2. So if you don't need Wi-Fi, there's lots of other good boards you can start with. And if you're just getting into embedded, I also recommend CircuitPython, which is what we work on and stuff, but it's designed for beginners. So
yeah, we'll have it be super easy once we're. I mean, you got it. You were working on linking, and you said you got the linking issue linked. So you got it USB enumerating.
Yeah.
Not actually transferring data yet, but it does appear on the USB port.
Making progress, telling me that yeah, it seems like enumeration's working out just fine.
All right, so you just got to figure out where that data's going.
I know.
It's a whole. So how do you do the debugging on the ESP32-S2? Do you?
I'm printf debugging like my life depends on it.
Oh, I thought there was like a JTAG interface.
There is, but I don't think that it's broken out on the Salo. Maybe it is. I thought maybe only on the larger dev board it was. From what I could, I glanced at it yesterday because getting a backtrace would be nice. But right now, all I'm doing is, yeah, Mark says it is, the JTAG stuff is broken out.
Okay, great.
It's with OpenOCD, so you need something else that OpenOCD uses to use them. But my process has been just because there's the separate serial USB to serial chip. I'm literally just printf debugging.
It is kind of. I mean, it is nice. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool because you can always upload code and your USB. You don't have to like unplug it and replug it or like.
Yep.
And I find that sometimes when you're doing USB stuff like this, like I always end up just like crashing my computer. Right. That's always fun, especially when the USB port just stops working. You have to like hard shut down, unplug everything, replug everything because you can get hubs into such a bad state. Right. So having them be separate is also kind of nice, so you don't.
Yeah, and to plug another product that Adafruit carries is that this charge data cable, where it's just USB A on both ends, is really, really nice when you're doing USB stuff that makes your bus unhappy. Like I'd be debugging USB and like I'd hear my music start stuttering in my headphones because it's also over USB, and I'd quickly flip the switch off so that it can recover.
All right, I'll give people a link to that because that is I got that it's just for security, for safety. Mm-hmm. But these are really handy. So I'll paste that in the chat when I can find the chat. Talking about debugging USB, which is always fun. Scott likes this cable. You can select data or charge mode, so you can quickly re-enumerate or keep from enumerating.
So Ethan Waldo asked, oh, I can't scroll up.
You have to grab the thing.
I have to hold it?
Yeah, you have to grab and hold it.
It still doesn't work. Oh, looking at the datasheet, it doesn't look like direct DMA over GPIO is supported, just DMA for I2C, I2S, SPI, and UART. Can that be confirmed?
I can't confirm it, but it's not unlikely. GPIO DMA is kind of rare. We saw, when we saw the 7051, one of the things that I really liked is it has GPIO DMA. And it's good for, RGB matrices or NeoPixel, like tons of NeoPixels, or, connecting to cameras or other stuff that has like large parallel port communications. Remember, it doesn't have the toggle lines often, so it's not good for displays where you have to like clock and latch. It's a little not as useful as you might think. So if they didn't add it, I wouldn't be surprised, just because it's not that useful for many people. I gotta admit, I think a good set of timers is worth more than GPIO DMA. That's my view. I'm taking it to the bank. Okay. Oh, good. Ivan's here, so I can answer all the hard questions.
I was just telling Ivan, like, you can ping me on Discord if he has answers.
Okay.
So Ivan, for those of you who don't know, Ivan works for Espressif and has been super helpful with us getting the ESP32-S2 going.
Yeah. Okay, so Ben Hank says, okay, he found out that the Risc-V ultra low power processor is clocked at 8 megahertz and has access to 8 kilobytes of the RTC SRAM. Okay, so that could be cool. Like, you shut down the main chip and then you have this little Risc-V thing going, getting sensor data, maybe just socking it into the SRAM, and then it wakes up the microcontroller and says, like, okay, we're doing stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think that's common in the previous ESPs where they had a ULP core as well. But from the other, like, I just did a bunch of lower power work in CircuitPython, and none of the like STMs, SAMDs, NRFs, none of them have a core in the low power domain, which is pretty interesting.
Okay, Mark Olson asks, the Huzzah 8266 had some capacitor transistor thing to auto restart, go to bootloader when the data on the RTS pin. Does that exist on the ESP32? Is that an issue? And yeah, this is like this dual transistor flip-floppy circuit. It lets you use the toggling of the RTS and DTR pins to control whether you go into bootloader mode automatically or into run mode, and it doesn't depend on the initial levels of the RTS and DTR pins, which is like why it's a little bit of a funky circuit instead of just connecting, RTS and DTR directly. So yeah, that circuitry seems to be here on the cell as well. I see, 2 transistors and a bunch of resistors next to it. So I think it's probably there, but that's only for UART mode. Only needed for UART boot loading. But yes, it seems that the funky reset circuit is on the cell ESP32-S2 dev kit.
Adam says, I can't wait for the USB side to work so that you can drop in code like CircuitPython.
That's right. And that's why we like this chip. Scott, we want to talk about why we don't support the ESP266 or 32 anymore, but we are going to support the ESP32-S2, which is why we're doing this hack chat.
Yeah, native USB. Native USB, as we've talked about a little bit already, allows you to have different protocols over USB. Typically, the ESP8266 and 32 only had USB, which was actually a translation to a UART, which doesn't allow it to show up as a disk drive, which is like fundamental to how CircuitPython works. So by having even the like full speed peripheral on the ESP32-S2, we can now support multiple protocols over USB at the same time, which is super exciting. And I've been doing a stream every Friday on the Adafruit's YouTube, where I'm checking in with like the progress that I've made on CircuitPython on the ESP32-S2. So tune in. It's typically at 2 p.m. Pacific time because I'm in Seattle, and go for about 2 hours. So expect a recap of like where I'm at in the week, and then we'll work on one thing that I've been thinking about. So I'd encourage you to show up this week in particular, because fingers crossed, I might actually be able to get like serial REPL working by Friday. So
yeah,
tune in to check that out.
We did initially support the ESP8266 when it came out because we had the Huzzah, and we actually also helped out the Kickstarter for Damien's MicroPython Kickstarter, and the Huzzah was one of the boards that they recommended because it was really easy to use. And the thing that was great about it is it had low-cost Wi-Fi. The thing that was a little challenging for us is it was really hard to get files on and off the memory. We even wrote tools for that called Ampy, and it's very popular. People still use it, but we just found it too difficult for people to use, especially the way that we want to use them. I mean, it's totally available for MicroPython. So MicroPython folks, if you want ESP32 or 8266 support, go there because they got that. But we kind of had an inkling that there would be a USB ESP32. So we're like, you know what, let's just wait, even if it takes a year, to get something that we felt was a good experience.
Yeah, we would always get people in the support forums being like, I got my ESP82 I plugged it, I loaded CircuitPython and I plugged it in and it doesn't show up as a drive. And we simply couldn't have that happen. And so we wanted to narrow it down so that the experience and the tutorials all apply to all CircuitPython devices. Okay.
Morgan asks, what does the flash process over USB look like at the moment? Might have missed that. So for that, I'm going to say, right now, wait, there's 8 Morgans. Morgan.
Oh, yeah. I hope I'm picking the right one.
I don't know. I don't really care. For now, we're using the USB UART built-in ROM bootloader that's set up on the Sola. But there is a USB bootloader. So we'll try that out once we got a more stable build process.
Yeah, and we'd like to bring UF2 to it as well, I think.
I think so too. I mean, there's the TinyUF2 project, that partners with TinyUSB. But it's like the STM32, right? Once I started like playing with the SB32, and I realized, oh no, there's a USB ROM bootloader on every chip. Like I was kind of like, man, it's really, and it's not on Windows, at least it's a drag and drop program. Like there's a program that you run. You don't have to do any command line stuff. You open up this app and you select your file and you click program and it just runs. That's really nice. I really like a ROM bootloader. I love them.
It's a great way to fix things if needed.
I mean, it's just like I think it's scary for companies because it's a big security attack vector. But they're pretty sweet when they have them. So NXP has them. We were also playing with the IMX RT series. That also has a ROM bootloader, which I totally can't figure out yet. But one day I will.
Yeah. But UF2, the reason I like UF2 is that we can make it a consistent experience across everything. In the same way that we want CircuitPython to show up as a drive, UF2 is great because it can be consistent and it requires no programs to be installed.
Another nice thing about native USB is it means that you can do cool stuff like have it be programmable over Android. Because you don't have to worry about any weird drivers. You can use like the native USB CDC, driver definition. So that could be interesting too for portable programming from a tablet. Okay. Aaron asks, could you not create a native USB board that uses the existing ESP32 or 8266 that you can plug in and make it visible as a drive? Not really.
I replied in the chat. But basically, those chips don't actually have native USB. Yeah.
So you would be using a different chip. You'd have to use some other chip to do it. It would be a mess. Like I've used them. NXP had it was called like the USB PT1200 or something, and it was just such a nightmare. Like it was a USB endpoint manager. I barely got it working once. It was very challenging, and then sorry, the USB D12, and then they deleted it off their website because I guess the chip sucked so much it wasn't even worth archiving.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben asks, what's the deal with web USB? Is that going to be a thing or any idea? Sorry, 1 second. This scrolled off.
I know, right?
Hold on. Wait. Oh no, did I lose it? Where did it go?
Ivan's getting caught up on questions as well.
Maybe answer the time of flight ones because I don't know anything about this time of flight code.
I just had lots of time of flight questions when I chatted with him.
Yeah. I lost it. I don't even know what the question was. Sorry. Ask it again.
Oh, interesting.
What?
Regarding DMA, Ivan says there is the I2S peripheral which supports parallel input and output, unlike regular serial I2S.
Okay.
It can be used to drive displays and work with cameras.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think of it, I remember there was some like parallel port interface. So yeah, sounds like there's a way to use the I2S audio peripheral to do GPIO DMA type activities, cameras, displays, etc.
Timon's also asking, have you considered TinyUF2 yet? Sounds like a more maintainable future for UF2. Totally agree. I think that's where we're going. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. UF2 does have a lot of, there's a couple things you just have to watch out for. It's easy to make mistakes that can break boards if you don't have a good bootloader. So we're going to go very slowly and carefully into that project.
I think for all new UF2 bootloaders, we'll probably do it there.
Yeah, like the SAMD21, we're not going to be able to use TinyUF2. It's just so tightly wound up to fit into the 8K board, boundary. But I think any other chip is probably good.
Yeah.
Okay, Morgan says time of flight is not supported yet. I'll link to the AT86 RF230 time of flight thing. People can.
So regarding time of flight, Ivan says it's in progress, but unfortunately won't ship an IDF 4.2 as there are higher priority features on the Wi-Fi side in progress. Will be part of IDF 4.3.
Okay, here's like a paper.
And I'm actually chatting with Ivan in live broadcast chat on the Adafruit Discord server, which you can join at adafru.it/discord. And we're there all day, every day.
6RF233. Okay. Cool. We've been doing 40 minutes of questions. How you feeling, Scott? You staying hydrated?
I'm out of water. I usually have a backup glass of water for my 2-hour stream in case I, like smack it and spill it on my spill it on my keyboard like I did on one of mine.
Live stream learning experiences.
Yeah, I can go as long as we have questions.
Yeah. Well, if you have a couple more minutes, I could just say like some of the things that we're planning to do with the ESP32-S2. Like we're going to have a feather, obviously, because we love feather, and a metro. And I want to make a clue board, like, a display 2-button microbit shaped thing, but with an ESP32-S2. I'm not sure if I can fit the WROVER on the back. I'm going to find out pretty soon. It is a little chunky, but if I can, having that would be great because I would love to have a Wi-Fi capable microbit shaped board. And then of course, the raw chips are very small. Like the amount of support circuitry required other than the QSPI flash is pretty minimal. So having a circuit playground with Wi-Fi would be great. I'd like to do that by the end of the year.
Yeah, so on the software side with CircuitPython, like I'm actively working on it, even more so than I was the last few weeks. I'm hoping to have the REPL working in the next day or two. So basically with CircuitPython, when you have a new port, you basically want to get all of the workflow going. And then once you can do that, you can get it checked in. And then you can do things like digital I/O and NeoPixel and bus I/O all kind of concurrently. So yeah, this core bit right now is the hardest part, I think.
All right.
And I'm posting a link in the Hackaday chat, and I'll put it in YouTube as well, of the playlist of my past live streams.
Yeah.
I do have, I call them deep dives because they're like 2 hours long and they're definitely technical. So
Okay. Peter says, thanks for this cool chat and all the answers. Cool to see so many familiar, well-known faces here. Yay. Thanks for joining us, Peter.
mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's all the questions that I saw that we can answer. Okay. Would it still be pin compatible with a microbit? The Wi-Fi clue would be microbit shape pin compatible.
So Ivan had some more info on the Wi-Fi ADC stuff. Says there's now a hardware arbiter which allows ADC2 and the Wi-Fi at the same time.
All right.
Wi-Fi still has priority, so you may get a lower sample rate, but the driver will not automatically retry sampling if Wi-Fi grabs priority. So the situation is better than with the ESP32. Still not completely independent, though.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, turns out the S2 has...
You're being much better about it than me.
Arbiter of the ADC plus Wi-Fi, so you can use both at once, but Wi-Fi will get priority. Okay. Sammy asks, do you know how low level the 802.11 support is? Probably not as low as you want. They have talked about how they don't like to open up the lower level hardware control because people abused that and one moment that they opened up a lower level, people made Wi-Fi deauthors, so now like that's one of the things that they're known for now is, oh, you can use an 8266 to turn off other people's Wi-Fi, and I think that's not playing very nice. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get really low level access. I'm sure that there will be an ESP32-S2 with 2 cores with BLE. I think it's coming. I think it's more just a price and processing question.
Right. Yeah, I've heard, actually, I think Ivan's confirmed that like the ESP32-S3 will have BLE as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like a whole S line of products, I guess.
It's normal to, well, yeah, S might be sent for single core, but it's normal to see companies, especially when they add new peripherals like this or change the architecture, they'll kind of release one chip of a family and then wait to get like ROM bugs worked out or firmware or support, and then build on that, right? They did that with the 8266, then built on that for the 32. So this is normal, to see an expansion.
So one question PT was saying is from Bob Greenwald's, are there any differences that you know of in how the S2 might handle audio signals, either through analog I/O pins or via I2S, I assume?
Yeah, you're going to have I2S, input and output. I don't know how many channels, but probably 1 input, 1 output, minimum, maybe two sets. I2S, of course, is going to be the highest quality.
And then you're not competing with Wi-Fi either.
You're not competing with the Wi-Fi, because if you were going to try to, although I think you could use one ADC to measure 2 sets, but just I2S is kind of what everyone ends up using. And you can get an I2S decoder for like $1 or $2 now. They're very inexpensive, and you can get microphones that are I2S native, which is kind of cool and weird. I don't know if they have PDM support for the ESP32-S2. That's kind of a weird one. I don't think so. I think I would have seen it.
Yeah. It sounds like the I2S peripheral is pretty flexible, though, so maybe. David Bates asks, any on-chip onboard battery management better than deep sleep? Not that I know of. The documents I was reading was just light sleep or deep sleep.
Yeah, I'm a fan of adding an external circuit to do that stuff, but it does add cost and space. But like I like the TPL 5110. It's microampere deep sleep, and it will just cut power to something on a timer for you. So it's like you don't have to worry about like, oh, am I in the right mode, or what if it times out? It just goes to sleep.
On YouTube, Bob says, I did mean I2C. I'm working on a Feather project. I think you're going to have some trouble over I2C getting your data rates up.
Yeah. I2C
is pretty slow for audio data.
I once did 4 kilohertz audio over I2C, but it was really unpleasant. I wouldn't use it for that. I mean, you can, but it's really just not meant for it. It's not good it's not a streaming protocol because it's like packetized. So that's why I2S is really nice, right? It's still only like 3 pins, but it's very SPI-like, but you don't have to worry about what if you connect or disconnect in the middle of the signal. It'll automatically do the right thing.
All right, I think we're caught up on questions as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Exciting.
Yeah. So if people want to follow at least CircuitPython progress, again, I posted a link to the Discord a bit earlier. We have a weekly meeting on Mondays that is what's happening in the whole wide world of CircuitPython, and I'll cover my updates there in terms of ESP32-S2. We also have notes docs, so you can take a look at those and follow along if you don't want to listen to the whole meeting. And then Ask an Engineer and Show and Tell on Wednesdays. You'll start to see stuff there. And then I also have my Friday streams, at least for the duration of the ESP32-S2 work.
I know. There's so much. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to try out the ESP32-S2 stuff once you've got it going. I know the beginning for you is always kind of the most challenging part of adding a new chipset, but once we get that beginning stuff ironed out, it's usually a fun, like every week it's like new peripheral, ADC this week, new peripheral, I2S this week.
Yeah, it'll be good. And I think one of the things that's on my radar is a new a new build system potentially as well.
Yeah, do you want people who are like CMake experts to come by the stream tomorrow?
I'm not convinced on CMake.
Oh boy. I dislike both, so I don't know.
I've been really interested in Ninja, which is what the IDF is using under the hood for CMake. But CMake itself is not that interesting to me. Adam asks, is the prototype on its way to you supposed to be a secret?
Which prototype?
I assume it's the Feather S2 from Unexpected Maker.
Okay, well, it's not a secret anymore. You just said it live on the internet.
I did.
Well, I mean, he's like tweeting it. It's not that secret.
Been...
It's not that secret.
I watched Sion's video and he said that like he was sending them to some folks and that he had earmarked for. And
yeah.
But he did privately tell me that there was one with my name on it. So.
Okay, well, this was a very successful hack chat. We answered many questions. Showed off the hardware that we got from DigiKey, so pick up a dev kit. I will say, don't wait on getting the dev boards because I did a stream and I was like, oh yeah, when they're available, you go to DigiKey, and then it was like they were in stock right then, and I was like, oh my god, wait, like they were in stock. I wasn't expecting that, and I did the stream, and then after the stream was over, they were sold out. So don't be like me. If you want a dev board, they're only a couple bucks. Get one now.
I think I'm actually going to do that.
Yeah, see, Scott's smart.
Because I don't think it's the same exact one that I have.
I think the 1M is the one without the PS RAM. It's probably the M is WROOM, and the R is for WROVER. So yeah, I would get the M because that's going to be the closest. That's the slightly lower cost module, and it's going to be what we'll probably try to support for like the clue and stuff.
Yeah, it'd be good to have both for me to test with here.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming to this hack chat. Thank you, Hackaday, for hosting us. Sophie and Dan are always making it a fun time. We like to do these, every few months or so. And I guess there's going to be one next week on pen testing. So fun time. Maybe we'll drop by and we'll be working on our CMake skills while we watch that hack chat. So thank you, everybody. Again, Scott, don't forget, come by CircuitPython video chats meetings every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Me, Ladyada, we're going to have show and tell for a full hour tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time to 8 p.m. It's a full hour. So please come by and show off any project you're working on. It doesn't have to be Adafruit stuff. It doesn't have to be electronics. It could be plants. It could be cats. We don't care. Come by, hang out with some cool hackers. We won't be giving away stickers, but in the future you'll get one. And then we have Ask Engineer at 8 to 9 p.m. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Goodbye.